crafty friends. Happy Flosstube Friday. We've made it through another week, and January is almost over. February starts on Monday? What is today, the 29th? So February starts very soon. So happy end of January. I hope you all are well. I hope your week has been good. My week has been busy. Work has been busier than usual this week. And I'm not sure why. When it comes to the end of the quarter, end of the year, all that sort of stuff, that makes sense. But sometimes randomly we're extra busy for no apparent reason. So anyway, so the first half of my week is pretty much a blur. And those of you who were here for Woolly Wednesday, I was talking about how tired I was. Probably I was just like mentally exhausted from work. Monday was full of meetings. And especially now that I don't have a lot of in-person social interaction, Zoom meetings have taken the place of the in-person social interaction or in-person interaction with my coworkers, and those things exhaust me. I am definitely an introvert, hardcore introvert, and so interacting with people outside of my social bubble exhausts me. It just exhausts me. And Monday was full of meetings. Tuesday was just lots and lots of really intense intellectual work, running reports and things like that. And so I think that's why I was so tired on Wednesday. So I'm starting to feel a little bit more energetic, a little bit more back to myself. So that's good. I'm not sure what else might have been contributing to the exhaustion. I'm still a little bit tired, but I'm feeling much more like normal tired instead of like I just can't function tired, which is kind of where it was Wednesday. So lots of things going on in the world. Thankfully, things have been politically relatively quiet. But yeah, so not really going to talk about a whole lot there. But let's see what else. What else has gone on this week? Mostly it's been work. I haven't done a ton of crafting this week, but I did do some stuff last week. So I'll talk about 24 hours of cross stitch weekend. And yeah. I keep having a thought, and then the thought just like zips right out of my mind. And I might have to watch this back and do a cat counter, because when the door is cracked like this, they love to go in and out and in and out and in and out. And I know that Momo, and that was Luna just now, I know that I've seen multiple cats walk in and out just since I've had the door cracked. So maybe I'll go back and put a number there every time a cat walks through. Anyway, so what have I been watching this week? What have I been listening to? I haven't listened to anything. I think because mental exhaustion, TV is so much easier when I'm mentally exhausted. So what I've been watching, I've been catching up on a lot of my regular weekly shows, and those regular weekly shows are mostly like pulp trash, but they're the shows that I enjoy. So what I'm watching lately is I watch both 911 shows. So there's the original that's in Los Angeles or somewhere in California, and then there's the spin-off that's in Austin, Texas. These, I never thought I would get into this show because I would see previews of it when the first season came out, and it was just so outlandish and so silly and so melodramatic, and I was just like, why would I ever watch this? And then on a whim, I had nothing to watch, and I found out that that the first season or first two seasons of 911 were on Hulu, and this has been a year or two ago. I found out that the seasons were on Hulu. I was like, I'll watch it. I have nothing else to watch anyway. And I like binged the first season all in one sitting because it was just like, and I don't know what it is. It's like, it's still way over dramatic. Like the things that happen are so unrealistic. Like I'm sure that first responders run into these kinds of stories all the time, like that they have these experiences, but I don't think they have them like every week or multiple times a week, or I don't think all of these things happen to the exact same person all the time. So it's way out there, but I really like the characters and their interaction, and they deal with like current events and social events and stuff like that. So they respond to things that are going on in the world, which is good. But they are so outlandish. This week, spoiler warning, this week in Austin, there's a volcano in Austin, Texas. A supposedly dormant volcano became active suddenly. And what was going on in Los Angeles? I guess it must be Los Angeles because it's where the Hollywood sign is. So there was the dam burst and flooded down wherever the Hollywood sign is. I'm awful with California geography. Sorry. I've never been to California. I don't know a whole lot about California, other than there's lots and lots of earthquakes. There's another cat. Uh, so yeah, that was more realistic because a dam bursting and earthquakes and mudslides in California makes sense. A volcano in Texas, not so much. But still interesting stuff going on. So I watch those. Another one that I really love is actually The Rookie, which stars Nathan Fillion, and he is one of my all-time favorite actors, thanks to Joss Whedon. So he was obviously, of course, I don't know if you all know, I'm a huge nerd. He was the star of Firefly. He played Malcolm, the space pilot in Firefly. And so I think that was one of the first places that I saw him. He's been in a lot of different stuff. He's been on multiple of the Whedonverse shows. So not only was he starring on Firefly, but he was in the Doctor Horrible sing along blog. He was the villain in Doctor Horrible sing along blog. He was a villain in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the sixth or seventh season, or maybe sixth bleeding into seventh. And he's been on it, multiple movies and stuff. And then more recently, The Rookie. And he's fantastic on The Rookie. He plays the whole purpose, or not purpose, but the basis of The Rookie is that he is a 46-year-old, or was 45, I think, when he started, a 46-year-old man who has decided to go into law enforcement, and so he is, Loki's chewing on a box again. And so he is going through the Rookie program, being trained to be a police officer. And, it's a fairly incredible idea to start with. I don't know if that's the thing that could even happen if they allow people to join the force that late in their life. But, basically he went through life changes, decided he really wanted to be in law enforcement. And so he is now a 45-year-old rookie in the police force, I believe also in Los Angeles, in California. But the show's fantastic. And it's one of the few shows I think that is not, if I remember correctly, they're not adding pandemic stuff to the show, but they are dealing with a lot of the race issues and that sort of thing that have come up across the year. Obviously, they're not new, but have come up over the course of this year. They're dealing with a lot of that hardcore stuff, which I really, really appreciate. So that's a fantastic show. If you haven't checked it out, check out The Rookie. Definitely good. What else am I watching? My regular stuff. I watched Prodigal Son, which is a weird show, but I like it for its weirdness. And the premise for that one is that Malcolm Bright is the son of a serial killer, and wackiness ensues. And I can't really tell you much more than that without spoiling it. But it's an interesting show. It's another one of those that it has a certain level of unreality, but it's still really fun. Fun is not the right word, but it's interesting. Also, what is the gentleman's name? It's Michael something. He's a fairly big time actor. Has been in a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't think of his name now. He played Aziraphale in Good Omens when they did the live action series for Amazon Prime. So David Tennant played Crowley, and this other actor played Aziraphale, if that helps at all. Can't remember his name. So yeah, Prodigal Son. What else? I'm trying to think of the weekly stuff. Oh, I watch The Good Doctor, which is another one of my favorites. That one is based on a doctor who has autism, and he's got a fairly significantly impactful version of autism, and he is training to be a surgeon. So he's a resident now, I believe. I forget how the different levels of medical professional go with surgeons, but he's in a position where he's obviously still in training, but he's also training lower down students. And that's a really interesting show because it deals a lot with neurodiversity and how that functions in the regular world, and there's just a lot of really interesting stuff going on. And it's not just about him too, it's also about the other characters and how their personalities are different, and what's good and bad about the way that they handle things. So it's not just he's autistic and this is what he has to deal with. It's also these other neurotypical people have their own issues too. So just because you're neurotypical doesn't mean that you're doing stuff correctly all the time either. So that's a really good show. I watch a lot of medical and first responder and police detective dramas, obviously. So this is my slush stuff that I watch on a regular basis. I think that's most everything. These are the ones that I like to keep up on a weekly basis because they're just fun. Also, Grey's Anatomy and Station 19 when they are running. I really like those shows. Grey's Anatomy is interesting to me for the fact that it has been going for so long, and yet it is somehow still interesting and relevant. And it's funny because almost the entire cast is different now. So Ellen Pompeo, who plays Meredith Grey, forgot her name. Names are hard for me lately. Anyway, who plays the main character, Meredith Grey. I think she's the only one left from the original cast. Like everybody else is gone. And yet somehow it's sort of like ER was, where by the end of it, it was a whole different group of people, and yet somehow the show still worked. So I don't know if it'll still work if Ellen Pompeo leaves. I feel like it probably would because there's a lot of really strong, awesome characters, not the least of which is Miranda Bailey. But anyway, so yeah. It's a lot of rambling about shows. Also, last thing I'll say about television shows. So that's my weekly stuff, the random stuff that I watch during the week. But on Netflix this past weekend, I noticed that there's a new show called Fate, the Winx Saga. Let me just let that sink in for a second. The Winx Saga. So I don't know if any of you remember. I remember that there used to be this silly cartoon show called The Winx Club ages ago, with these skinny little fairy chicks, and they all had different elemental powers, and I think it was all about friendship and love, you know, kind of like, you know, the new My Little Pony revamp is Friendship is Magic or whatever. So it was one of those kind of like feel good, everybody's awesome kind of shows. They've turned that into a live action television show. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I was like, really? When I saw it pop up as a suggestion, I was like, this cannot possibly be worth watching, because the show was awful. At least as an adult trying to watch the show was awful. But they actually did, and I think it's because it's a British show. All of the actors, except for one, are British, and actually she's probably British and just using an American accent. But all of the characters are British or European, probably UK, because there's some Scottish accents, there's lots of different types of English sort of accents. I didn't notice any Irish particularly, so it's probably a UK show versus just Europe, because not all of Ireland is, only a small part of Ireland is part of the UK. The rest of Ireland is independent, just FYI. Some of you know that. Anyway, probably made in the UK, which I think is part of the reason that it's actually decent. But it's a much more adult version of the story. So it takes the basic premise of Winx, is that there's this group of young women who are fairies who have elemental powers, and they are working together for a cause. And that's where it ends. Like, that's all that they took from the show, other than I think the names and the specific elements that those characters have. I think the names might be the same, and their elements and that sort of thing, but the rest of it is like it's on a whole different level. So if you've watched Riverdale, it's sort of on the same lines, where they've taken something that was traditionally very like for kids, family friendly. They took the Archie comics from way back in the day that were like super kid friendly, and they've turned it into an adult show with young adults as the actors, and you know the themes are much more adult. That's what they've done with Winx Club now. So it's actually really good. It's sort of like Riverdale meets Harry Potter, but in like with fairy girls and stuff. So it's like it's a little strange, but it's actually really good. So if you are looking for something random and weird to watch, that's actually halfway decent. And I binged almost the entire season in just the one evening, because I was stitching and I just kept watching and stitching. And before I knew it, I was in episode 6, and then I think Adam came home and we decided to do something else, and I didn't realize until later that there was only one more episode left. So, yeah, that was actually, it was surprisingly good for where it came from. So, there's that. So yeah, that's what I have for you this week. That's what I'm listening to, what I'm watching. I've lost track of how many cats have walked through that door now. I only have 3 cats. It seems like I have 50 right now. Okay, so what's next? I don't really have any Happy Mail. I have a sort of Happy Mail thing, and there's Adam. So as I was saying, I have a little bit of Happy Mail, sort of Happy Mail. It's actually something that I ordered for my stepkid because I follow. There's a person on Patreon. His business name is Verdant Sculpts. Sculpts, as in sculptures. He is an LGBTQIA plus artist, and he makes these really awesome resin castings of different kind of fantasy creatures and stuff. And so I follow him on Patreon, and he was having a sale on all of his Pride collection castings, and he happened to have a non-binary dragon. And my stepkid loves dragons. That's their big thing, is dragons, dragon everything. And so I got a non-binary dragon for my stepkid. So it's actually a wyvern, I think. It's going to be a little bit difficult to see, especially because my camera doesn't want to focus. But these are the non-binary flag colors. Let me turn it around this way. You can see the tail. And it's just a really spiffy looking little dragon, I thought. So we haven't gotten together for their birthday or Christmas, though we've gotten them some gifts sent to the house from Amazon and stuff like that. But I thought this would be really spiffy to give as a surprise gift at some point. I thought they would really appreciate that. So I did get that. So that's a little bit of Happy Mail that I'm going to be sending forward. But I've been kind of keeping it to help decorate my space in the meantime, because I just think it's cool. So yeah, so I got that. No other Happy Mail right now. I'm not actually expecting any other Happy Mail. I am expecting my December Color and Cotton floss pack any day now. They've shipped it, so it's just a matter of it getting here. So they are just about back on track with their schedule, which is awesome. So I've gotten the extra flosses that I've ordered from them. I've gotten my November flosses. December's are on the way. January's, I think, were only just charged recently, so those will probably be shipping on their regular schedule. And I also got my fabric grab bags, which I'll show you later. I'm excited about those. So trying to think what else. I already got my teal teacup, and I showed you my ink circles Happy Mail last week. So yeah, I think that's all the Happy Mail that I'm expecting right now. So that's awesome. Let's see. So I guess we'll talk about 24 hours of cross stitch. I did not try real hard for 24 hours. I will admit that. And I think last week I was talking about just basically stitching until I didn't feel like stitching. And that's exactly what I did. So I did a bunch of stitching on Friday, which is when I was watching Winx Club, or Fate, the Winx Saga, when I was watching that. And because I finished something. What did I finish? Oh, I finished watching Angel. I didn't even talk about that. Okay, so backtrack a little bit. So I finally finished watching Angel, and I was disappointed in the ending. I talked to my brother about it, and he thought the ending was very appropriate. It's not that the ending was not appropriate for the show. It made sense in the context, especially when you consider the fact that Angel got canceled somewhere in the middle of the 5th season, so Joss had been planning on a whole 6th season and however much more. So he was building up for a long-term story, and then couldn't do that story, so tried to wrap it up in a different way. And that's very obvious to me halfway through the season, because things are going along in a way that I expect the show to go, and then all of a sudden things start not making a lot of sense and happening for no reason. Like the whole Fred storyline. The whole thing with Fred was just like, really? What? Just out of nowhere. And a lot of things happened from that point forward that were just like, what? Why? So anyway, it ended on an appropriate note. I just wasn't satisfied with it because to me it felt like a cliffhanger. So I did really appreciate James Marsters in the last season. I really, really liked that they added him in. I felt like he really punched up the show. And the fifth season, for the most part, in my opinion, was better than the fourth season and part of the third season. I didn't like the whole Connor thing all through there. I didn't like what they did with Cordelia. She did get redeemed. I don't know if that's the right, because the actress didn't do anything. The actress was kind of kicked off the show because she got pregnant in real life. But they gave her a good ending in the last season, so that was good. I was satisfied with that. Just, I don't know. But that's what happens when a show gets canceled. Stuff gets rewritten, and I don't know that Joss Whedon is necessarily very good at that kind of stuff. He's really great at the long term, long haul, like putting a story together, and we'll learn things in this season that don't come to fruition until next season, and so on and so forth. So like if he knew that he had a 10 season run on something, like if he had been in charge of Game of Thrones and knew that he was going to have X number of seasons and X number of episodes, that would have been off the hook. But if you cut him off in the middle, you just kind of get what you get. So it is. So I was left in show hole because I finished Angel, and that's how I found Fate. So just because you needed to know that, right? So did a lot of Netflix watching while I was stitching. So I got, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. I'm gonna put a graphic or something over here of my my overall hour count for the weekend. I think I totaled about 11 hours. Because I did about 6 or 7 hours on Friday. The bulk of that, I think, was on, well, I should just show you. I think the bulk of that was on my Grimm's Fairy Tales from Cloud's Factory. Everything's going to slide here. So I'm struggling to remember where I was when I last showed this to you. I think I had the little knight person. I think I had the body. But had maybe only just started this area. So I actually did, for the month of January, I actually did over 1,000 stitches on this. So I hit my January goal as well as the second box goal for the year. So technically speaking, I could call myself finished with all of my goals for the year. I'm thinking what I'm going to do, since at the moment, hitting 500 stitches, February is going to be different, I think. But at the moment, since hitting 500 stitches seems to be fairly achievable, probably what I'm going to do is not count the second box as finished yet. When it pops back up, if I feel like I can do another 500 stitches, I will. So on my WIPGO sheet, which I will put up shortly, I've actually marked the second box as completed, at least in the little top square. But I haven't actually marked the whole box as one yet. I will decide whether I'm going to use my previous completion as a win, or if I'm going to stitch 500 more stitches. Because I have so many stitch alongs from last year and I'm so far behind on all of them, I want to push for more stitches and not settle for less. So we'll see how the year goes. I'm giving myself leeway to count it as finished if I'm too busy or don't have the capacity when this box actually gets called. I can't remember what box number it is. You'll see in a little bit. So, but as you can see, I have that castle almost finished. So I need to put Rapunzel in, and I need to put, there's a bunch of ivy that goes up this side of the parapet there. Or is it a turret, a parapet? Are they the same thing? Regardless, there's some ivy and stuff, and I need to complete the knight's horse and the knight and everything like that. So I've been looking on Lord Lebadan's website, where he has listed a whole bunch of skin tones and hair colors and stuff like that. So I'm picking now my skin tones and hair colors. Part of me actually wants to turn this knight into a girl instead of a boy. I don't know that there's really a way to, to do that very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very obviously. Like, I mean, a person with short hair can be a boy or a girl. It could be a non-binary knight. We don't even know. So I'm definitely going to change the hair color, or the skin color, I mean. I think the knight's hair is meant to be black anyway, so I may leave that as black, change the skin tone. And then Rapunzel, I'm thinking of trying to go with a closer to an olive complexion with dark hair, like a dark auburn, or a nice rich brown, something like that, for Rapunzel. So we'll see. I just haven't decided on that yet. I'll probably wait to decide until I actually go back to stitching this. So whenever that happens. So that's where we are with Grimm's Fairy Tales. So I don't remember how many hours. The graphic will tell you how many hours I actually spent on this specifically. So, but I did get, I finished my 500 stitches for January, and I got 500 more for the second goal. So I did 1,000 stitches on that. I also worked on, I worked on my Deep Dark Queen of the Sea. She is coming along quite nicely. As you can see, she now has a chest. And I think when I showed this to you previous to the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch weekend, I think I had only just finished this blue section here. So I finished all the rest of her torso. Or not all the rest, but I've gotten quite a bit of her torso in there. So there's not much left of the other half of her chest, what would be her left side, and then I'll start stitching up the neck and the arms and that sort of thing. I have decided that I'm going to end up continuing to not stitch this in the published order, and part of that is because I hate moving my fabric. So I will stitch up the neck, and I will stitch this arm that comes down here, and then I will probably go ahead and stitch both fish as well as the coral and seaweed and stuff that was in the most recent, was in the January drop, because all of that is in this section, and then once I get up here to the other arm, I'll actually have to move it. So I won't work on her face and her hair and all that sort of stuff until after I get all of this main area finished. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm just gonna move all around on it. This is a piece I will probably continue to consistently work on throughout the year because I really love this piece. And let me see, I have also gotten 1,000 stitches in on her this month. So again, I have marked that box as completed, or I've marked the goal as completed, but not the whole box. I'll continue stitching on this, so I'm sure I'll get 500 more stitches at least over the course of the year. I hope to get much closer to actually being on time with this, but I think this one probably finishes up. It started in September and it's a year-long sale, so I guess August will be the last drop. I doubt I will finish on time, but I would like to get closer to on time with this one. I just love the way this one is coming together. It just looks really, really cool. So, and that is my Dark Queen. So those were the main things I worked on for 24 Hours of Cross Stitch. I also put in a few hours on my model stitch, which I'm not going to show you, but I did stitch on Sempre Avante as well. And my plans for the weekend mostly revolve around, if I do any stitching this weekend, it'll be on that piece, because I'm kind of in that place where I shouldn't start on the February stuff yet, including February and my WIPGO goals. So I shouldn't start on that until February 1st, but I still want to stitch something, so the best thing to do is work on my model stitch. So that's what I did. That was 24 Hours of Cross Stitch. I had planned to work all day on my model stitch on Sunday, but I got a couple hours in and I was just tired. That's where the exhaustion started last week, was Sunday. And so rather than push through it like I usually do, because I had a goal in mind and I just wanted to get the goal done, rather than doing that, I told myself, you know what, if you're tired, it's fine. Put it down. It's all good. Because I knew that I wasn't holding myself to anybody's standard but my own. And so I gave myself a pass, and I ended up knitting the rest of the day or something, because I was just, the cross stitch for whatever reason was exhausting. And I did 2 or 3 hours, and then I switched to knitting, and that was good. I called it good. So that's a lot of the reason that I didn't get but like 11 hours. I had planned on possibly redoing 24 Hours of Cross Stitch this weekend, but plans have changed. Turns out my husband's going to be home all weekend instead of being on night shift like I originally thought. So rather than trying to squeeze in 24 Hours of Cross Stitch while I'm also trying to spend time with him, there's no reason to force that this weekend. Next weekend maybe, if I don't have other plans, we'll see. But there's another 24 hours of cross stitch weekend in April, I believe is the next one. So it's whatevs. It's whatevs. I've done plenty of stitching this month to meet my goals, so no pressure. I can do whatever I want to. It's my party. I'll do whatever I want to. Okay, so let's talk about WIPGO. So for January, I completed all 3 of my goals. So I'm gonna put over here my WIPGO thing. So that was boxes 6, 13, and 18. 13 was the free space that I decided to make my Gamer Nouveau. So I got 1,000 stitches on my Gamer Nouveau. I actually got 1,000 stitches on both Clouds Factory Grimm's Fairy Tales and Autumn Lane Stitchery Dark Queen of the Sea Sal. So I got 3,000 stitches in on my gold pieces, yay me. And I also got a bunch of stitches in on my model stitch, and I did a Quirky Quaker this month. So wow, y'all, wow. I cannot even believe I got that much stitching done this month. That's crazy. It's not crazy, it's phenomenal, it's amazing. Yeah, crazy is a bad word to use. But I'm really impressed with myself. I didn't believe I could get that much stitching done in 1 month. And there's a cat. Hi, cat. That's Loki. Loki's the one who likes to climb up my side when he wants attention. So yeah, I got a ton of stitching done. The next boxes, Michelle G already made this joke. The next boxes are 4 and 20, not blackbirds. Box 4 and box 20. So box 4 is going to be Foxview. So this is my starting point for Foxview. Hello. Just come see me. Thanks. Don't you get up there. Don't you do it. Don't. He likes to get up on my TV stand, and I'm convinced he's going to knock it over. Hold on just a second. I don't know if it's because I'm in here talking and they feel the need to get my attention while I'm talking. I don't know. They're like... they're getting a little bit too rambunctious is what they're doing. Okay. Okay, so I started this in November. We had originally planned, I don't know if this is still the plan, but our original plan was for Rachel of Rachel Ray and Heike of Stone Cold Coffee Crafts. The 3 of us were going to stitch this as a stitch along, partly to see, like, just to see how the 3 of us approach a cross stitch differently, because we all have very different styles, and I found it interesting if we're stitching on the same piece to see that we all start in different places, we focus on different elements first, and so it was just kind of an experiment the 3 of us wanted to do to see how things, like how it would happen, what would happen. And Heike wasn't able to start. I don't think she started hers yet. I don't think either Rachel or I have done any more work on ours since we started it back on the 11th of November. I think we started on Veterans Day, or no, we didn't start it on Veterans Day. We started it later in November. Regardless, we started it in November. So this is as far as I got. You can't even tell what it's supposed to be because it's just the border. But this is box 4, so I'll be working on Foxview in February. My goal is to stitch on this for at least 5 hours. So I expect to get around 500 stitches. This is a paper chart, which is why I'm doing hours instead of stitches, because I loathe counting stitches manually. I love counting stitches when I'm using Pattern Keeper, but this is not a pattern I have in Pattern Keeper, so or that I can put into Pattern Keeper easily. So I'll be counting hours on this versus stitches. But yeah, so I'm not sure realistically how many stitches this whole thing has, because you can see this is the amount of space it's going to cover. So it's a rectangle. My fabric, I cut it too short, or at least I could have given myself just a little bit extra on the fabric, and I decided to cut it a little bit shorter, not realizing that I needed to put it in something to stitch on it. So that's why it's all wonky on this side. It's just that the fabric's not tight on that side. So I promise I know how to do stitches. But yeah, so this is the overall size, and it's not even close to full coverage. So yeah, I'm curious to see if 5 hours will get me to a finish. Depending on where 5 hours gets me, I might just go ahead and try to finish it this month. We will see. There's a lot of birds happening this month, so I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So that's going to be Fox Few. That's box number 4. Box number 20, and I was so excited for this one, is my Witchy Stitcher Baba Yaga. So this is where it is as of the last time I stitched on it. I want to say that the whole pattern has, I can't remember how many stitches. I want to say that I have at a minimum 2,000 stitches left on this piece. So my goal for February is 2,000 stitches, is 500 stitches. So generally speaking, it's either 500 stitches or 5 hours for all my goals. So we'll see where 500 stitches gets me. I was realizing I need to put this in a different frame, just because once I get done with the hut here, I actually need to work on the frame and everything that goes around it. And probably if I put this on, if I do it maybe 14 inches long by 11 wide, a Q-snap, that way I should be able to get the entire thing in one view so that I can stitch it without having to move it. So that will be that. So I'm really excited to get back to work on this one. This is one that I look at and I go, I want to stitch on that, and then I never pull it out and stitch on it. Like one of the things I'm thinking about, because I don't know if y'all have noticed, I tend to keep the whips that I'm working on up here, and I can see them, and it's nice to look at them while I'm not working on them. It also gives me more like inspiration to get back to them, and I would love to figure out a way where I could actually hang all of my current works in progress on the wall so I could see them, because then I would be like, oh, I want to work on that now, you know, because I'm very visual. I have an issue with object permanence. If you are familiar at all with ADHD issues and various like things. Anyway, object permanence is sort of the idea that if you're not seeing a thing, if it goes out of your visual perception, you forget it exists. I'm not sure how much of my issue is really object permanence, but I have a problem with that. And I actually just saw a TikTok recently. Digression. I just saw a TikTok recently that was talking about that sort of, there's 2 ways that people with ADHD might remember where objects are, or not remember, as the case may be. And one of them is like, you put a thing down and you like you put your keys down when you come home, and then you can't find your keys. You'll be standing right next to them, looking right at them, and you can't find your keys. And you're like, where are my keys? Where are my keys? Where are my keys? And they're right here, right in front of you. The other thing is somebody will be like, I need that thing, that like tiny little thing that I had like 12 years ago when we did such and such. And you'll be like, well, there's a box in the garage underneath another box, and it has a purple bag in it, and inside the purple bag is a post-it note, and I think that post-it note is wrapped around the thing you're looking for. And then you go look, and there it is. And that's how my brain works. So I don't have as much issue with the where are my keys, and I think that's because a long time ago, without realizing that I was doing it, I got into the habit of certain things that I need, like keys or glasses or wallet, those specific things that I need on a regular basis. I have a place, one place that I put them in, and I always am able to find them because I always put them in that one place. So my keys are hanging on the baker's rack in the kitchen because that's a place where I can see them, and I immediately put them on the hook when I come home. If I leave the house, that's where I pick them up from. I put them back. So I have a very specific thing where the keys have to go in that place. And that's why I never lose my keys. I don't know how I started doing that or why. And I don't do that with everything, but I do that with the super important things. So there's a very particular place my wallet goes when it's not in my pants pocket. There's a particular place my keys go when I'm not using them. My glasses are less of a thing because they're either on my face or they're on my nightstand. There's not a there's not a specific place for those. But so I don't have that much of an issue, but I do have an issue when I put things in a drawer, when I put things in a cabinet. Unless it's a thing that I use all the time, I kind of forget that it exists. So we have closed cabinets and drawers all over the house where I'll open them up and go, oh my God, I haven't seen that in 6 years. I didn't even know we had that. And it turns out to be a really useful thing that is in that drawer that it would have been great if I could have remembered that it existed. I have definitely been guilty of buying and rebuying craft supplies because I put them in a safe space or in a safe place and then completely forgot that they existed or that I ever purchased them or that they ever were in the house. That's a thing. It's why I'm starting to go to like this kind of storage. I also just installed. I just put up a Metro shelf on the other side of the room to house my like mailing supplies for the shop and some other stuff. So this open shelving helps me to understand I have that already. I don't need to buy more envelopes because I have 100 of them and they're right there. I can see them. So yeah, that's how my brain works. And I feel like, hello, Loki, come here. You want to say hi? No, you don't want to say hi. Okay, let's get down. I feel like if I had all of my whips set up in a situation where I could see them, one, I would feel less overwhelmed because when I can't grasp like how much of a thing, how much work I have to do, that kind of stuff, it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like there's too much. And realistically, I don't have that many whips when you consider that there are people out there who have hundreds of whips, or at least 100 whips. I think the highest number that I have heard personally is like 96. And I don't have nearly that many. I didn't have 25 to fit in a WIPGO box. So realistically, I don't have that many whips, but because I can't envision them all at one time, because I don't have a way to visually put them up in a visual way where I can see them and know that they all exist, it feels overwhelming. So this is something I'm thinking about. Now I have some wall space and you haven't really seen it because there's a bunch of junk over there in that corner. So, you know, maybe I could set up some kind of temporary command hook situation where I could hang up the ones that I can't put up here or something like that. So I might think about doing that because basically I'm just brainstorming here on camera. So that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, that seems like it would be, that might help me to stay on top of my whips and to feel less overwhelmed. Though as we go into February, that's going to be really difficult because I think I have at least as many patterns picked out as I already have working whips. So, working works in progress. Is that too redundant? Anyway, so back to the point. The point is, the point is that these are February's WIPGO goals, and I'm really excited to work on these. So I was very happy with those draws. I was concerned that it was going to end up pulling, hi, now I'm almost crying. I was concerned that it was going to pull up just more stitch alongs, and I didn't want to do the yearly stitch alongs. I wanted to do something different. What are you doing now? Okay, I was concerned it was going to pull up the yearly stitch alongs, and I really wanted to work on something else. And granted, I can work on anything I want to, but you know, I've set these goals for myself, so I kind of want these to be my focus pieces. And I don't want to just work on whatever else instead of actually working through WIPGO the way I wanted to. So also, I think these are going to be a little bit easier on me to deal with than, because these are both very finite pieces. Which feels less overwhelming and feels more productive in my head, especially, you know, compared to the big year-long stitch alongs. You know, the Baba Yaga has something like, I don't know, I can't remember the overall stitch count, and it's bugging me. It either has a total of 2,000 or I have 2,000 left. I think it's more like I have 2,000 stitches left. But it's a finite piece. It's going to be done once that part's done. There's not 15,000 stitches in it. And same with Fox Few. So it feels much more manageable during a month that I'm considering doing a new start possibly every day. I don't know if I have to sit down and make a list of all the new starts that I'm actually planning. There are a lot of them, and I've shown them all on the channel already, but I haven't actually quantified them in a way that I can keep it in my head yet. So I'll be doing that this weekend probably. But yeah, so in a month where I'm talking about doing a whole bunch of new starts, it's nice to have two smaller pieces that feel much more manageable that I can also work on while I'm doing all these new starts. So everything so far feels fairly manageable, fairly. So of course I want to throw in a new thing on top of that. days, why not? I'm not actually going to do this, I don't think. But through one of the other stitchers that I follow on Instagram, I found out about this 100 days project. The biggest roadblock for me, in addition to the fact that I think that's just taking on more than I need to take on right now, is I don't know what project to work on for 100 days. I could do something like I'll draw every day for 100 days, or I'll do something creative that's not stitching or knitting, but I think it's just adding too much on my plate. So I'm looking at that. Maybe I'll do my own 100 days after February. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a 100 days project when I think of a project to do for 100 days. Because I'm already working on stitching as a regular thing. I'm already working on knitting as a regular thing. So it seems silly to do a 100 days project on one of those because I'm already doing that. So, and I've already done 28 days on my temperature shawl. So I'm sticking with that really well, and I'm proud of myself for that. So not only do I not have a project that I'm thinking about, but I also just don't want to overwhelm myself when I'm doing really well, sticking with the goals and the focus pieces that I want to stick with. So I'm doing really well. I don't want to self-sabotage, basically. I don't want to give myself so much that now I can't finish it all. Because in addition to all the projects that I'm working on, as usual, I have my 40-hour-a-week job, and I have the Etsy shop, and I have YouTube. So so this is me telling myself to not stack on more, because I'm doing enough. I'm doing enough. Enough is enough. Good enough is good enough. Okay. Pep talk. So those are plans. I'm not going to go again through all the February stuff. I will say, as a quick note, to make sure that, if you want to stitch along, please do. If you want to do another project that is not cross-stitching, but you want to join in February, as long as it's got a bird in it, please do. Use the hashtag, I'll try to remember to edit it in here, hashtag February. I'll spell it down there. Also, if that's too difficult for you, you can also do hashtag all the burbs, but you must do burbs with a B, B-I-R-B-S, burbs. So hashtag February or hashtag all the burbs. Either way, I'll be following those on Instagram. I would love to see what you're working on. So yeah, because I know I had at least one person ask if they could join in with a diamond painting, and absolutely. Whatever your craft is, please join in. I don't care if it's cross stitch. It can be embroidery, it can be knitting, it can be crochet, it can be latch hook, it can be diamond painting, it could be painting, like actual acrylic or oil painting, whatever you want to do. If it has a bird in it, please join us, because we're all about the burbs. So I love to see people doing whatever makes them happy. So if cross stitching is not your thing, then join in with whatever your thing is. If it's carving, if it's I'm trying to think of like paper cutting or origami. If you love to make paper cranes, join us with paper cranes. It's all good. Any kind of bird, any kind of craft, anything you want. It's awesome. It's all good. So that's my last plug for February before we start February. Let's see, I don't think I have a high tea start for February. My plan is to do a high tea start related to February on March 1st. And I don't remember if I've actually talked about it. I know I intended to talk about it multiple times, but I have this gorgeous pattern. Let me see if I can pull it out without making things fall. I have this gorgeous pattern. I originally found out about this on Just Keep Stitching with Pam and Steph. This is, I don't know if you can see the chart. This is Cardinal Points, which is a beautiful, beautiful chart. I've seen several people, recently working on it. It is a collaboration between the Gentle Art and Long Dog Samplers. So Long Dog actually designed the cross stitch, if I understand correctly, and then the Gentle Art created all of the or dyed all of these flosses that go with it. So it's a collaboration between the two. Long Dog does not carry this because it's mostly a Gentle Art project. I am able to get these charts through the Gentle Art. I believe they have recently decided to reprint them or print more of them. My flosses are falling. So I think I currently have one of these charts in the Etsy store. if it's something that you're interested in. The flosses are harder to come by. I can order them from the Gentle Art, but there's a couple of colors that I've had a hard time getting them, or getting from them, so I need to try to reorder those. But this is a very special start to me. It's one of those that I saw somebody else stitching it. I was like, oh, I have to have that, and I dug around and finally found it and was able to get it and most of the flosses and everything. So this is much more of a high tea start than any of the other bird things. And rather than starting it on January 1st, this is going to be like a finale on March, or not January. Instead of starting this on February 1st, it's going to be like a grand finale for February that I will start on March 1st. So that's my plan for that. I need to get the fabric, or I need to get a fabric for it. And I almost think just a plain Lugana or Jobelan would be great for this. I will say that I have, I'm on my second model stitch for Tempting Tangles, and I've done both of those stitches on white Jobelan, and that is fantastic to stitch on. 32 count white Jobelan is phenomenal just for ease of stitching. The holes are very easy to see, and especially with the Dinky Dice flosses, it's just like, oh, it's fantastic to stitch. So I may see if I can get a piece of Jobelan. I don't think any of my suppliers offer Jobelan. At least not in a time frame that I can get it by March, probably. I can certainly get Lugana. I can get Lugana fairly easily, so we'll see. But I also have plenty of dyed options, assuming that this is not too big a chart. And I actually don't even know how large this chart is. I haven't looked. It's a pretty big stitch, so I may need to buy actually half a yard. But yeah, so that's the thing I need to do. That's another reason I'm going to wait until March 1st, because I still have a couple of flosses that I either need to obtain or substitute, and I need to decide on the fabric. So that's that. So that's plans. Let's talk about the things I have received in the mail, the purchases that I have gotten. So I will show you. I have some Brandy. I have my Brandy Fabric of the Month fabrics. I will show you those second. That way, if you don't want to be spoiled, you can just cut off and run. So I'll show you my grab bags from Color and Cotton first. These are the first fabrics I've ever purchased from Color and Cotton. I have lots and lots of their floss, which I love. So I was excited that they had grab bags because it meant I didn't have to pick particular colors. I could just get whatever random stuff they sent me. And I'm very happy with the selection. So each of these bags, and I got 3 of them. Three. I can't do numbers. 3. I got 3 bags. Each has 3 pieces of fabric, and they're all 8 by 12. So I have a feeling that these are going to be some great fabrics for my February picks, because most of them are fairly small. So this is the first bag, and we have this nice tan taupey kind of color. I think these are going to be perfect sizes for all of my February stuff, almost all of my February stuff. So it's a nice tan taupe. These are all even weaves, because I prefer even weave to linen. I will work on linen, and sometimes I feel like a pattern needs linen. So yeah, I will absolutely work on linen, but if I have a choice, I usually pick even weave, specifically Jobelan. And the reason I pick Jobelan, at some point I'll do a video about the differences in fabrics, but the reason that I pick Jobelan is because it actually has, it's a cotton rayon mix, and the rayon gives it a smoothness and a sheen that Lugana does not have. Makes it a little bit easier to work with, gives it a more smooth finish overall that I prefer. So that's why I like Jobelan so much. This is the second piece. This is a nice blue, and I just thought recently that this would be the perfect blue for something, and now I can't remember what. I always do this. I'm like, that would be the perfect blue for such and such pattern, and I don't write it down, and now I don't remember what pattern would go on this. But it is a nice sky blue kind of color. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, I added 2 more patterns. I added 2 more charts to my burbs. So there are 2 really gorgeous charts from Owl Forest Embroidery. One is called Kingfishers, and one is called Hummingbirds. If I remember, I'll put pictures of the charts here. But they're gorgeous, gorgeous charts. And I have, in my wackadoodleness, because I don't have enough on my plate, I decided to rechart those in, or not rechart, but convert those to dinky dye silks. So I'll be stitching those in silks. And I just got the silks this past week. For the most part, I'm happy with the colors that I've picked. There's a couple that I want to replace because I think there are better colors. But yeah, so that was an interesting challenge for myself, was recharting those in dinky dyes, because they're originally charted for whatever hand-dyed silks, or not hand-dyed silks, hand-dyed cottons that Owl Forest Embroidery has. I don't know whether they make them or they have a source for them in Russia, but their particular proprietary hand-dyed cottons is what they're actually charted in. So that's what you see in the pictures, are those variegated cottons that they actually pick for their kits. But for these particular charts, I think the kits were not available, or they would have taken months to get here, or whatever the situation was. So I just bought the PDF charts. I did not buy the kits or the cottons. So the charts actually have the DMC conversions from those variegated cottons. So I used the DMC versions to then convert to silks. But in getting the silks, I wanted it to look like the variegated cottons that Owl Forest charted them in. So that was an interesting challenge. I'm curious to see how it's all going to go. And I will say too, the Kingfisher, I keep pointing in the wrong direction. The Kingfisher has some irises on it, and they're charted in yellows. So pale yellow and then a brighter yellow, or more intense yellow. I've actually decided that some of those will be purple and some of those will be a mixture of purple and yellow, because I love purple. My mom loved yellow. That was her favorite color. So I like the idea of doing purple and yellow irises for both of us. But yeah, so I'm going to be changing. I changed some of the colors in that chart because I wanted different colored flowers. And that's my right as a stitcher. Back to the fabric. This is a really cool piece of fabric too. So it's got this really nifty kind of dark brown going through there. I like that a lot. I got a lot of neutrals, which I'm very happy about, because neutrals are a lot easier to work with a lot of different patterns. I really like brighter colors, but sometimes I find it hard to figure out what chart would go on that. So sometimes when I'm specifically purchasing a bright color, I only do that because I know that I have a particular pattern I want to go on that color. Now with my clubs, I love the bright colors regardless. I'll use them eventually. I will find the perfect pattern, I promise, sometime in my life. And I feel like I'm not allowed to die until I figure out how to use all my fabric. Right? That's a plan for immortality. Doesn't that work? This is the second pack. So this is the first color. This is like a doe skin. It's like a really light doe skin. It's got that patch of dark at the top here. So that's another really lovely neutral. And I can see a bunch of the small birds that I want to do going on these. This is an odd sort of piece, but I'm sure I'll find something to put on this. So it's sort of like a salmon-y kind of pink with this yellow blotch. So that'll be interesting. And then this piece is opal. And I have something similar to this in my grab bag from Misty. In fact, I think I used a piece of this for the Christmas tree that I stitched for a friend that I still have to finish and send. Isn't it great when your Christmas presents don't go until like February or March? But this is a nice piece of opal Lugana in this sort of dark brown, almost purple, sort of like a really dark mauve kind of color. I like that. So that's the second pack, and now let's look at the third. The third pack has pretty much my favorite color in it. My favorite color of all these three packs. So this is another lovely brownish neutral. It's leaning toward gray, but it's like a warm gray. And then this is a nice, like, blue-gray. I like that a lot. Ooh, this would probably be good for the newest cardinal pattern that I got from Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. That would probably be really nice with that brown and the red on it, because this is just, it's just slightly blue, like an icy winter day. So yeah, I think that would be good fabric for that. I love how, like, I just happened to find that in a magazine that I subscribe to, and then all of the pieces for it are just like right into place. So that might have to be my first start for February. And last but not least, this is, look at this. I love this purple. This is a gorgeous purple. Love, 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 love. Oh, I also just recently discovered, because I have to enable you all. So Barbara Anna will soon be releasing yet another animal in a dress pattern. Oh my gosh, I'm so here for it. This one is going to be, it's another cat in a dress. So we had Trick or Treat, which was a cat in a dress. This is going to be a little more toned down cat-wise. It's going to look more natural, I think, based on the sneak peek that I saw. But it's another black cat in a dress, and the cat looks just like my Momo. It's so cute. So Heike showed that to me, and I was so excited, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so there. So yeah, there will be another Barbara Anna animal in a dress, and I am totally down for it. And that might be on blue fabric. That might be what I was thinking about for this, this more intense blue. So that might be for the next cat in a dress. Also, I think I've pretty much been enabled. I think I've pretty much been sucked into the Dreaming Girl Sal, which I think that starts in February. I'm likely not going to start it right when it starts, but I think I am going to jump in on that Sal. So that's another Barbara Anna. And if you follow Michelle G, she has already talked about this. Maybe she only talked about it on Patreon. Regardless, she's already talked about it in some form. And it's a gorgeous redheaded girl who's dreaming. And there's stuff in the background that we can't quite see yet. And it's going to be like a 4-part or 5-part Sal. It looks really, really cool. I had kind of shied away from it in the beginning because as it's designed, it's a very pale skinned girl, and I'm really trying hard to either find patterns that already represent people of color, or to convert things, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to convert that, because I love the red hair. I really, really love the red hair. I'd like to keep the red hair. And I don't know about the skin tone. Like, I don't want to just keep it as it's charted because she's so pale. I'd like to have somebody with more melanin. I'd like to represent somebody with more melanin. So I was kind of on the fence, but then I remembered that Michelle has already recharted something similar. Another Barbara Anna piece that had red hair, and she kept the red hair and found a skin tone that worked with it. So I'm probably going to take that cue and keep the hair red because I love the red hair, but change the skin tone. So I think I'm going to jump in on that. It looks really, really cool. So, but I haven't even looked at the specs on that and what kind of fabric I need. I think it's also on a blue fabric. Okay, so last couple pieces of fabric, and then I'll let you go. So these are all my Stitch Me fabrics. This first one is actually a piece that I won, so it is not a surprise. The other two will be the fabric of the month. So I actually won this as part of Brandy's weekly giveaways, or her Friday Fight Night giveaways. She had planned on doing a Friday Fight Night that week, but wasn't able to for whatever reason. She still did giveaways for everybody who made a purchase. Well, that was the week that I decided to purchase the Solstice box, which I'm really excited about. I got the smaller end Solstice box. I think I actually got like the eighth, the fat eighth size of fabric. So I'll get 4 pieces of fabric that are a fat eighth each. And then I get just a couple of goodies because I've been buying so much stuff. I really would have loved the deluxe box. Like, her deluxe version comes with 5 different pieces of fabric of your choice of fabric type, fabric count, as well as fabric size. So you can get as little as an eighth or as much as a yard, I think she allows for that. And then the deluxe box comes with that 5th piece of fabric, as well as a whole bunch of goodies and stuff. I didn't spring for all of that just because that's not where my affordability level was. So I got the 8th fabrics, the 1/8 cut fabrics. I believe in 32 Joe Blend because that's what I do. And it comes with just a few extra goodies, which I think is going to be a nice, for me, it's going to be a nice balance between getting the fabrics and not getting the fabrics. So, so yeah, so I made a purchase. I was able to enter into the drawings, and I won this gorgeous piece of fabric that I'm getting ready to show you. So the colorway is called Baron. And this is a piece of 32 count Opal Lugana. And I was super excited because not only is it an even weave, it's 32 count even weave. So it's totally in my wheelhouse for stuff that I would normally purchase. And this color is fantastic. I love this color. So it's like purple, like dark mauve red with a little bit of brown and stuff in it. It's really, really cool. So that was super exciting. I haven't won anything from Brandy in ages. It gets harder and harder not only to actually get the fabrics you're trying to buy, but with so many people buying from her, it gets really difficult to win anything too. So that was super exciting when I saw my name tagged that day. I was like, yes! So that's the piece of fabric that I won. Thank you, Brandy, for being so generous. She is incredibly generous for people who support her shop, because she does these giveaways every time she does a Friday night fight night, and the amount of stuff that she gives away makes me wonder how she is subsisting, honestly. She's incredibly generous. So yeah, so that was fantastic. Okay, so here's your last spoiler warning. If you have not gotten your fabric of the month from Brandy, I get both her standard club and I get the neutrals club. So I'm going to show a piece of each of the fabrics. So if you don't want to see them yet, then you know, either skip forward. There's not going to be a whole lot after this probably. So you can either go now, so bye, love you, or you can just skip forward to the end. So first I will show you my neutral club. I get my neutrals on, hold on just a second. I get my neutrals on 32 count linen. I have considered actually starting to get the neutrals on both Jobelan and linen, but I haven't made the choice to do that yet, because again, it would be an extra expense, and it's totally worth it, but you know, you know how that goes. We gotta have a budget and we gotta stick to it, right? I already have so much more fabric than I can probably ever deal with. But yeah, so this is my fat quarter of 32 count linen. The colorway is called Honey. And how gorgeous is that? Let me hold it up. Isn't that a gorgeous color? It's a really pale, like it's pale butter. It's a pale buttery color. It's a really nice, soft, light yellow color. So this is definitely, it leans a little towards tan, but it's absolutely a gorgeous yellow tone that would work for a lot of stuff. So it's not super bright, like what am I going to do with this yellow, but it's really nice, a little bit more yellow than an average parchment kind of color, but really, really gorgeous. Love it. I'm always floored by her color choices. And every time I get the neutrals, because I'm always a little hesitant with neutrals, but every time I get her neutrals, I'm like, I know that I will find a pattern for that. Like, I know that I can use that. So I love the fact that I think that every time I see her neutrals. The standard colorway this month is really interesting. And I get the standard color, which is usually brighter colors. I get that in 32 count Jobelan. And this is really pretty. So this month's colorway is Flamingo. And that is certainly a shrimpy pink kind of color, isn't it? Let's open this fully. Look at that, y'all. How gorgeous is that? And I know that there's going to be something that's going to look fantastic on this, and I'm trying to think of what would look awesome on this. I don't know. I don't think I want to put Dreaming Girl on this. There's a lot of red tones in Dreaming Girl because the red hair and everything, and I don't think that this would make that pop. I think something with a lot of blue in it, maybe. And of course, I'm talking about this like I actually have a clue about putting colors together. Really what I do when I'm choosing colors, because I'm really awful at color coordination, which is surprising considering I went through art school. But what I generally do is, and this is going to sound a little frou-frou, kind of weird, but what I usually do is when I need a fabric for a project, I will take the flosses and I will kind of look through my fabrics and I will go, this one feels right. Or these feel like they would be right. And then I'll pull those out and then I'll do a floss toss. And I basically do, it's sort of this weird kind of mixture between like mystical energy sensing and Marie Kondo joy feeling. Like, so I'll do a floss toss, put the flosses on the different fabric colors, and whichever one brings me the most joy is the one that I pick. And there was a long time where I would be like, but I don't know if the colors really go. Like, is this clashing? Is this, I worried a lot about what other people would think about the color combinations. And a while ago, I stopped doing that and started just listening to what made me happy, because ultimately that's when I'm doing cross stitch, unless I'm making it for somebody else, all that really matters is if I like it. So I stopped worrying so much about does this clash, and I started just looking at it from the standpoint of, does this bring me joy? Does this make me happy? Does this color combination give me a sense of we? Because if it does, I'll go with it. If it doesn't, then I'll try something else. Because there's nothing better, in my opinion, than that moment where you put the flosses and the fabrics together and you just are filled with this kind of like, yay, kind of feeling. Like, that's the best thing ever. Or maybe even better than that is when you get a piece of fabric randomly, or you buy one and you see it and you're like, oh, that's perfect for this project. And then you put all the things together and it's like, yes, like that's the best feeling ever. So yeah. So I know I will find something fantastic. Like it's like just niggling at the back of my mind that there's a pattern I've already seen that should go on this fabric. I can't think of what it is, but I will find it because I think that's a fantastic fabric. It's not something that I would normally pick for a project, but I can just envision something awesome going on there. So anyway, so that's the purchases I have for you this week. That's all of the random things that are in my head right now. That's all the whips and all the plans, or at least as many as I can think of right now. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I just realized that the hanger over my head looks a little bit like a tiny hat. It's a Diamond Art Club canvas, by the way. The unboxing of that will be coming soon, just FYI. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you've had a great week. If you're watching this over the weekend, I hope you're having a great weekend. Whatever day or year or whatever it is, I hope you're having a great one. If you're not having a great one, I hope it gets better. So yeah, that's all I have for you. I never know how to wrap these up, so. Anyway, I hope you're having a great one. I hope if you're not having a great one that it gets better soon. I always want the best for all of you, whatever the best for you is. So, and with that, and yet one more cat coming through the door. Please remember, everyone, to stay hydrated. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you're taking all the meds that you need to take. And remember that good enough is good enough. And I'll see you next time.